Get the recording. Wonderful. Well, I want to welcome you all Wednesday, June 14th to our virtual paint class. My name is Megan. If anyone is new, I'm so glad that you're with us. We have more folks that are continuing to join, so we'll continue to welcome them. As you join, I am going to ask that you mute yourself for any background noise so it doesn't interfere with our art class tonight. So if you can just lower a bottom left corner, just make sure you're muted. That would be fantastic. But I'm located in Fairfield, Vermont, and I know many of you are from all over the country, whether you're in the North, New England, Northeast, or all over. I'm so glad that we have a really convenient space to come together every month to get creative and do these fun things. We are certainly building quite the community here, and it's been so much fun getting to know everyone and welcome new members. So welcome. Tonight's class is sponsored by AARP New Hampshire. Tonight's class is really focused on if you're a caregiver, if you're looking to learn more about caregiving, but we just want to extend it to folks that really need it. So sometimes it's hard to slow down to make time for ourselves. I'm really bad at it. You guys probably think I just like walk around, paint, and I'm happy all the time. We all struggle, right? And we all need to make time for ourselves. And tonight is the class as a great example of you are here for you after a busy day. So on that note, we'll keep it easy and light. Tonight's inspiration is not a hard one. It's not like Mount Washington painting little trees. It's way easier than that, okay? We'll do something a little bit different. But I would like to introduce Miss Mary Roberge. She is a volunteer with AARP New Hampshire, and she is just going to say a few words about the resourcing and upcoming events. So I'm going to go ahead and pin my friend Mary. I'll let her turn on her video, and she can say a few words for us.
Okay, hold on a second, Megan, and I will do that.
No worries.
There you go.
And Mary is joined by her daughter, Melissa. If you see two heads in that window, that's Melissa.
My daughter, Melissa, whom I volunteered last month to be the speaker because unfortunately I could not be here. But I really am glad to be back here with you, Megan, and with everybody else. So I'm going to be saying a few words about caregiving, and I will share some resources, and I will also put them in an email to Megan so that she can send them out to you when she sends the link. And just to let everybody know that at AARP New Hampshire, we are focused on the health and the financial security and social connections that are critical to the well-being for every one of us. We carry out our work through targeted advocacy at the state and federal levels, compelling engagements of the 50 plus community statewide, and also serving as a trusted resource for information for our members and for the public. Balancing caregiving responsibilities with work or other family obligations can feel overwhelming, and even in the best of times. So I'd like to stress that it is okay to reach out for support when you need it. Caregiving for a loved one, it's one of the most important roles that you'll ever play as a friend or a family member. But no one should try to approach this responsibility of caregiving alone. It really does take more than one person. So AAR has created a lot of local resources for help to help family caregivers. And you can access these programs and services and agencies in your community. Everything from health, legal, and financial resources to respite care. And you can get that information on our website at www.aarp.org/caregiving. And if you put /local info, you will get resources within your area. And as you start to think about becoming a caregiver, AARP also has a guide called Prepared to Care that helps give you additional resources on your caregiving journey. In addition to all these great resources, you can find numerous stories, articles, and more helpful information on the AARP caregiving website. It is amazing that in this day and age, there are so many resources, but there's also some digital resources that can help you in your caregiving journey. So it is very important that caregivers also take the time to care for themselves. That's one of the reasons we're here tonight. So we're happy and we're glad that you're joining us and allowing yourself to take a break and enjoy a fun activity. These classes I find are really worthwhile. Caregiving here in New Hampshire has certainly had, caregivers, I'm sorry, in New Hampshire have certainly had their fair share of challenges this past year. But we at AARP New Hampshire, we're here to support you. And we hope that you do enjoy tonight's creative class. Thank you so much, Megan, for allowing me to speak. Back to you.
Mary, as always, thank you so much. Mary has been a participant of our classes for a while now, and she continues to share the resourcing. It does not, even if you're new or you've come to these before, I think it's really helpful to be reminded of the resources, especially the different guides. And as new resourcing and events come up that you may be interested in, she's certainly going to continue to share that information. So I think the more that we talk about getting help, like whether you're in it for yourself or you have others that can help you, I think knowing these resources, these digital resources and the local events to kind of support you along the way is really important. So Mary, thank you as always. Thank you for sharing some info with us.
Thanks,
All
Megan.
right.
I will let you know that I share my paintings the next day on my Facebook page.
Yay! Well, we
And
should be
everybody
Facebook
thinks, "Oh,
friends.
you're so talented."
Well, that brings up another really good point. So and I always think about this about the people that are in my local community, is people may not know that this type of resource is available. And the fact that it's virtual, it makes it more accessible. So I encourage you all to kind of like think of your network, think of your neighbors, think of somebody who could use a little extra love, maybe someone who take a little bit extra time in for themselves. I encourage you to share these classes with them. You can, whether they have supplies at home or if they need something. Obviously, getting art supplies is pretty easy for the most part. It just depends on how much you want to spend. But I encourage you to invite someone or two, because if you've taken these classes with me before, you know that they're really light and they're not too stressful. And it might give someone one to get out of their comfort zone, which some of us need that after COVID. Me as being one of them, even though I'm teaching, but like some people need to maybe be introduced to new groups. My mom is like, she's trying to find all these new groups of friends and she could join these classes and she could be a part of it. But this is just one way to connect with new people. So if you know anyone that may need a little extra love or who may enjoy this experience, I encourage you to share the info with them. It could be like an aunt or a neighbor. Sometimes Front Porch Forum is a great way to spread the info, but it's just an easy way for people to kind of gain back a little time for them to do something fun. So awesome. But we'll go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and pin my screen. All right, cool. You all get to see me a little bigger. Whew, good thing Zoom has this like make you look nice feature. Did you know that exists? Because it does. All right, cool. So we are painting birds in a nest tonight. So this is, I'll call it very like whimsical. This is a little more like fun and light. It's not so natural looking, right? It has like colorful pink and blue petals, right? It's a little more whimsical. If you like the idea of birds in a nest and you want to do 2 yellow birds in a brown nest, right? Taking a little bit more of a realistic approach with green leaves, like you can do that. You have my permission to break the rules. You can still follow along with us. We're going to do the core background first, then we'll do the branches, and then we'll kind of add some of the segments. If you want to do something funky and colorful with me like this, yes, let's do it. Okay. But I just wanted to give you that option of you can choose the colors along the way. Okay. So I'm going to put my inspiration down. About halfway through the class, I'll share some updates for what the July summer classes look like. AARP New Hampshire is not sponsoring summer classes, but I will continue to be teaching. I teach 3 public classes a month. Same format, just like this. And I have those posted on my website. I will put the link down below. I have the classes very affordable. My goal is to keep people engaged without it costing you an arm and a leg. That's why I'm doing it. So I encourage you to join those classes and tell your friends if you're interested in joining. So I'll share that info halfway through, but we'll go ahead and jump in and start painting. If you have recently joined, you will need a cup of water to rinse your brushes. a small plate to mix your colors and a paper towel. All right, and I saw Karen Klaus join, turn on her video. Welcome, Karen and co. Great to see you guys. All right, so I'm gonna get my inspiration and we'll get painting here. So the background color for me, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter. I had a teal color, and I'm gonna mix a teal using blue and green, but I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it to make it a little bit lighter. It was a little darker before, but I'm going to use a little bit more white for accent. So as we get started, you could choose the orientation. So if you want to do your picture landscape, you could. If you wanted to do it portrait or vertical, that's fine too. But we're going to go ahead and grab the blue that I sent you. Give me a thumbs up if I sent you the blue lake. Or did I send you Phthalo blue? Who can confirm?
I've got Phthalo blue.
Phthalo. Okay, we'll use Phthalo. Perfect. So you can open up your Phthalo blue. This class works with either of those colors. So I'm just doing a small dollop of my Phthalo blue. Put that cute little cover back on. And then we're going to grab the green. Who can confirm the green that I sent you? Did I send you Phthalo green or did I send you light green today?
Phthalo green.
Perfect. So we're going to do a small dollop of Phthalo green. I'm going to do it kind of next to it, so they're not touching. And then you're going to grab a little bit of the white paint. You're going to be using, I don't want to say quite a bit of white in this class tonight, but we're going to make a lighter background. We're going to making a lighter background. So I'm just going to do a little bit of white here. All right. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the green, and I'm going to put it in the white. So I'm going to just make a background color that you enjoy. So if you don't want to make this teal color, you don't have to. If you wanted to do like a light, yellow background, you could do a light yellow background. You could choose. So take a few minutes to mix that color of choice. I just got paint all over my apron, so I'm going to let you all mix that for a moment. And I'm going to take this off. And you're basically going to paint the entire background that color. So take a few minutes to mix the right color and start painting that background. And I will be right back, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. So you're going to use a large brush, white paint all of my apron. That's why you wear an apron, ladies and gents. All right. Good thing my husband's home and he can go wash it for me. All right. So I'm going to use my big brush. And I'll show you how to mix these colors. So I think it's easier to bring like a little bit of one color in and then a little bit of the other. Just find a color that you like. That's really the name of the game. If you wanted to do like a light blue background, you could do a light blue background. To really spread the use of our white tonight, you can use a little bit of water as you apply. This background doesn't have to be like a thick coat of paint. We're going to be putting a lot of stuff on top of it. This is kind of a nice bluish green. The reason we want it to be lighter is because we're putting a nice dark branch on top of this. It's a nice color. I don't want you to use all your white, so that's an important component. So I'm just going to start at the top. I'm going to do nice smooth brush strokes across the top. You can try keeping your brush on the canvas. I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of water, and I did the drip test. So if you drip your brush in your water and you hold it upside down, and if it's not dripping, that's a good thing. But you can see by putting a little water on your brush, it will spread this paint around like crazy. And I'm being a little aggressive. I love showing you all how to like paint these backgrounds aggressively, because I feel like when you first start painting, we're all very dainty about it. But this is just a background, so you can get a little crazy with it. It's all right. But the biggest thing is to watch your brush strokes. If you're doing a little bit of crazy jagged brush strokes, you're going to get some jagged edges. So even though you may try to apply quickly or slowly, take a minute to smooth out those brush strokes. And if you get any water droplets, just wipe those up quickly with your brush. And your background doesn't have to be entirely even. This is just a background. So you could do a couple dots maybe. Kind of fill those in. Ooh, we could do like droplets, like it's raining or something. That could be cool. These classes, you're going to kind of come up with your own ideas. I encourage you to kind of go with whatever idea comes to you along the way. It could be raining behind our birds. True reflection of what our weather is now. A little bit of rain, a little bit of sun. We're painting this entire background. So any way you want to fill the entire background, this is all you. And you can see my colors are changing a little bit. It's okay. I'm kind of working from this one little patch that I have here. I am dipping my brush in a little bit of water. And while the acrylic paint that we're using tonight is still wet, you can use water to manipulate it and move it around. So you can put a little pressure on the wet pigment and you can watch the color change. You can watch the dark color pigment move around, which is really fun. And as an artist, you can do a lot of texturing and manipulation when you learn to play with that water kind of texture. It's really fun to enjoy it. So I'm kind of doing a strip of paint and I'm moving it around with a little bit of water. That's just my technique tonight. For me, it preserves a little bit of paint, so I don't have to make any more. I have lots of little drops down here. But if anyone has any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask. But this is where you can really just settle into the project. And again, I will be recording tonight's class. So anyone that is registered, I will be sending a link to the recording after the class tonight with follow-up information on how to sign up for future classes. So I'll post some information during the class, but I'll also send in the follow-up email the additional summer classes that I have scheduled. So if folks who want to paint more this summer, you may join. Love to have you. I was going to paint tonight's class outside to surprise you all, but the weather wasn't cooperating. So you get my inside of my studio, but one of these days this summer, you all are going to see some type of pretty scene behind me. I know many of you live in beautiful places, and that's why we live where we live, because we just love it. And this is a beautiful time of the year to celebrate nature's beauty.
Carol and I were going to do plein air tonight, but it's pouring rain here right now.
Oh, same thing. Same thing. I don't think it's raining quite yet, but it is awfully dark outside. Thunderstorms are in my 10-day forecast. but it is not thunderstorming yet. Yep. Exactly. Yep. And in the summers, I partner with a local flower farm and I do outdoor paint and sips where we paint flowers outside, which is so fun. I know many of you don't live in the state of Vermont, but it's always fun to just kind of go outside and, or even for one of these classes, you can bring your phone even, or even put some headphones on and just paint outside with us. It's a really wonderful experience. The nice thing about these classes, it's pretty easy to do that. You can actually put Zoom right on your phone. It's so easy. I've hosted classes just from my phone before, and I'm not sure where the ARP New Hampshire, but quite fun. So just know you can always paint with us from anywhere. Just if you just need an easel, really. There we go. So I'll give everyone a few minutes. I don't know if I zoomed through this or if you're all still painting, but just really make sure you don't have any crazy kind of nooks and crannies. This is just a background, so you don't need to be too particular unless you're really detail oriented and you want this to be like as precise as possible. I respect that, I do. But for just painting the background in any way that you wish. Mine's it's like washy tonight. It's very soft. It's not like a solid pigment, which is good for me. I'm happy with this. So I'm just going to put my brush down and clean it off. And I'll check in with all of you. Take your time if you're still working on your background. No rush. My poor husband is tasked to get the white paint off my black apron. God bless his heart. All right. And you just kind of clean your brushes as you go. These brushes will last a while, which is quite nice. And we're going to let it dry. So first objective is to paint the background. If you have any really thick spots, some of you may be painting like heavy paint, use your brush and kind of smooth out any thick areas. If you have long sleeves on, it doesn't hurt to roll up your sleeves. I have many sweaters that have paint on them. So you can consider that. And we're going to let these backgrounds dry as we shift, but I'll take a look at all of you and see how things are going. Kathy, thumbs up. How's your background doing? Pretty good. Carol, you too? Painting away. Nice colors. Beautiful. Karen and Co, you guys are in the zone. I like it. Look at, he's done. It's drying. Nice job. All right. Perfect. All right. You all are in good shape. Ron, what color is that? Is that white? Or is it just really light? Okay. I like that. It's nice and soft. I like that. All right. So we're going to slowly shift as our backgrounds are drying. We are going to make brown for our tree branch. So to make brown, one of the easier ways, and I kind of washed my brush along the way, and we're going to put the bigger brush down. We'll switch to a smaller brush in a minute. But one of the easy ways to make brown is mixing red and green together. This is one of the easier ways to make brown. So you can do 50-50. And you don't need too much. I would just do a small dollop of each, and I'll mix that with you here. I do have a little green on my plate, so I'm going to be resourceful and use that. But I'm going to do a small dollop of red, and I'll show you what this looks like. And you're going to use just like a medium-sized brush. So there's my dollop of red. I'm just going to keep these handy. And you can do 50-50 proportions. Let's see what size brush might be a good fit here. This number size, this is like a 5 brush. So there's small gold numbers on the sides. Look at my hands. Messy. Number 5 brush works fine. Melissa's like, me too. I didn't even spill white paint all over my apron. Kathy. Okay. Thank you all, making me feel so good about being messy tonight. Thank you very much. A number 5 brush or number 4 brush, whatever, roughly this size, not your smallest, not your biggest. This one will be fine. And we're going to make brown. So I'm going to take a little bit of green and a little bit of red. This lighting is terrible, sorry. Flip it over here. You may want to add a little bit of white to it. If you have too much red, it'll be like purpley. I think I added a touch of white as well. By adding a touch of white, it will kind of bring out the true color. Right. Here we go. Let me check my email as well to make sure if folks had any problems getting in. I probably should have done that earlier. No, we're okay. Perfect. All right. Welcome, Diane. All right. So I'm going to add in a tiny touch of white without getting it everywhere, I hope. The cover was off my white. Bad. Very bad. All right. So if I add a tiny touch of white to this, it'll kind of help the colors come out a little bit. And this is not brown. Thrilling. Okay. I think I had a little bit too much blue mixed in with my green. So you can also add a little bit of yellow to make it a little bit more brown. So, all right. I have like a green happening, so I'm going to add a little bit more red. Mixing brown takes a little bit of patience. I'm getting like a purple, so I might add a little bit of yellow to this just to make it a little bit more brown. Or sorry, adding a little bit more yellow to this to make it a little bit more brown. So I kind of have like a dark purple happening. This is another hidden benefit of these classes. You all learn how to mix colors of your choice. I remember the first time I had to mix the color in a class and I was like, this is so incredibly annoying, but it is one of those skills, it's worth it. And then you get better at it and then it takes you less time. So it's worth it. Okay, and we're gonna do branches in just a minute, but I have like this dark purple, so I'm gonna add a touch of yellow to it. See what happens. I also teach a little bit of patience in these classes. My husband's like, I don't know how you do it. Well, this is what you do. You just kind of roll with it a little bit here. Okay, that turned it a little bit more green.
He just got up on his own.
Right. If folks could check your microphones, make sure you're muted.
That's
That'd
right.
be awesome. Oh yeah, no worries. I'm
We
gonna
haven't
add
got
a little more red. Mine is not turning brown tonight. Is anybody having success with this? Because it is not working for me. Okay. So go with any kind of color branch that you wish. I'm just going to add a little bit more red. I might go with like a green, dark green branch or a dark purple branch. You know what? It doesn't matter. Just find a color that you like. It might be the Phthalo green. It just doesn't mix well. Actually, I am finally getting brown. Just add a little bit more red. I finally just got it. Red and green. I added a tiny touch of yellow. I'm really not sure if the yellow helped, but I do have a brown. So if you had like a dark purple, I added a little yellow to it. If it became a little more green, just add a little bit more red. So I think we need a heavier red tone with this Phthalo green. So it might have been like a heavier lean on the red, but like did get brown. Somehow I just had to talk about it not happening, Melissa, and it happened. And you know what? I'm going to use all of this, so it's not even wasted paint. So it's all good. Yeah, the red pigment definitely helped considerably. Look at that. It's like milk chocolate brown.
I think I got it.
Trials and tribulations. All right. Cool. See, we're all in it together. Nobody's stranded on the island by themselves. All right. So here we go. As folks are mixing, take your time, but we can kind of get started with some of these lines. And this is very straightforward. So now we're talking about the composition of our picture. So we have birds in a nest, kind of like it's in the middle, but it's kind of like on the lower middle side here. And we are going to do
I always make it chicken. when
Oh,
I'm
hold
around
on, 1
cake.
second. I just hear some
Okay. Does
voices.
it taste good cold?
1 second. I'm just looking for, here we go. Okay. So you can take a little bit of this brown on this number 5, whatever you got, and we're just gonna do some outlining first. So there's gonna be a big branch that's gonna start down here and it's gonna come up and it's gonna come over. So this is just a branch. Okay. So if you wanted to do this, this branch will kind of bow out a little bit. It'll be a little wider here. This is the base, kind of where it's coming from. And you basically have a lower branch here where your birds are going to be sitting, which you can play with this shaping. And it's okay to do some like random lines to get started. That's all right. And then there's going to be another branch coming over this way. And then this branch is going to come up here. So we're just doing like a couple, so imagine there's a bird's nest in here, and I'm actually going to outline and put the bird's nest in, so I know that it's there. If anybody wants to do like the outline for the bird's nest, you're welcome to do that right now. Kind of like a taco shape. My birds are going to be hanging out in a little taco. And we'll kind of connect this branch. And then I'll help you with some of these details, but we'll just do a couple branches at a time. Let's just work on these ones for right now, and then we'll add some others. So there's 2 branches basically coming off this way. I could even add another third if I wanted to. Just use your eye. One of the things about art is about finding kind of composition and balance visually. So use your brush. The branches you want to kind of keep more thin as you kind of come up and out. So I'm not going to make these branches kind of as wide as the bottom down here. So this is going to be filled in all the way.
Megan, I have a question about what is brown? What color?
Brown is red and green,
Okay, that's what I thought.
more red.
Okay, great.
And if you
Thank
need
you.
to add a little yellow, you could add a little yellow.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Yeah, no worries. I also have made brown using blue and orange, but I don't send you orange. So if you wanted to make your own orange, you could, but that's another way to make brown. I've had more success with the red and green, but obviously we're using different pigments of these things. So I just have 1, 2, I kind of have 3 branches here. If I wanted to add more like little ones, I can after, but just keep it simple. I'm going to kind of fill in this bottom brown tree trunk branch happening. I'm just going to fill this in brown in this space. And I'll do this out of the tree in just a minute. So we'll just take our time. And I'm just filling this in entirely. And you can do some nice smooth brush strokes. Now remember, you can use any colors that you want. You can do a colorful scene like me, or you could do really natural light colors. I'm gonna do the fun, funky colors because that's what was in the inspiration. But if you wanted to do more serious, in the classes that I've taught so far, people have done both. So I always like talking about like do what style you want to do. Because it's you're the artist. I want you to do what you are inspired to do, because that's why we're here. All right. So this branch here, I'm just going to do a nice clean line. And what I was saying before about like visually balanced, you want to do branches that are kind of from the left to the right. So I'm going to put a branch here. It's going to kind of go up. And then maybe I'll do another branch here. The ends of the branches are a little more pointy. Some of these are gonna have these really fun little flowers on the ends. I can go in and make those a little more thick in areas, it's okay. On the underside of the nest, there's also 2 branches down here, which is really fun. 1 and 2. And on either sides of these branches, we're going to be putting some really colorful leaves and flowers. So maybe I'll just do another little, you can put these little tuck away branches if you want. Totally optional. If you want to do like these little sprigs, you could just do more leaves off of those if you wanted to. So just do as many branches as you want. I didn't do this many last class, but I'm just giving you an example as if you want to add a little more like tree-like to the picture, you can add more twig branches, which I think looks good, right? We're making it look more like a tree. My nest is going to just kind of stay here hanging out. If you want to add, I might do some like brown twig-like structure in here, which is just me getting witty and creative in these classes. Just doing some soft brush strokes to give it a little bit of like a nest texture. I'm just doing some soft left and right sweeps to kind of give it some texture. If you want to get a little fancy, you can mix a little bit of white with your brown and do 2 tones. I might have a natural nest tonight. I don't know. I might put a little bit of blue in it. We'll see. But if you want to play with adding a little character texture to your nest, you could. In the inspiration, the nest is like, it looked like a quilt to me. Like it was so colorful. And that's actually how I did my original inspiration. I'm kind of embracing some of the browns tonight, but I can still add in colors. As you know, acrylic dries really quickly. So I can easily bring in lots of colors into this too. And I'm just doing a little bit of extra dark colors kind of on the edges and on the sides to kind of make it look a little rounded. You do not have to do this if you don't want to, but this is me being courageous and just going for it. I love being in the moment in these classes because I hope it encourages you to just, if you have an idea, just to be in the moment. I did a little of this darker brown dusting on the edges and I was gently swiping it in and you can see it kind of really rounded the nest. So art is always experimental. I don't always paint nests, right? So there's thousands of ways to paint nests, especially if they're, you know, realistic or not. So just with art, just never take it too seriously. It's always a fun space just to kind of experiment a little bit. Tonight's a good class for that. My nest tipping a little bit. So my nest is tipping a little bit. I'm going to fix it so it's a little more straight. My birds would like a leveled nest. There, that's a little bit better. Perfect. So I'm not going to go too crazy with my twigs. I'm going to let these dry because we're going to go leaf crazy here in a minute. So I'm going to be done with my brown for right now. I'm going to clean my brush. Trust me, you're not going to need any more of brown. We will add some highlighting and shading to our tree after if we have time. We usually have time at the end. Okay, we're going to do our birds next because they're top of mind. I'm going to have you grab a smaller brush for your birds. So if you were using a 5, grab like a 3 or a 2. Use whatever you have. It doesn't really matter. If you have like a brand new 4 brush that I gave you and it's, you know, really fine point, you can use that. Any of these sizes work. This is a 2. This is a 1. 1 is pretty small. I would use like a 2 or a 3 if you have a 2 or a 3. If you have a 4, that works too. So this is where you get to choose the color of your birds. I love this part. I'm I did a red bird last time and I did a yellow bird. I'm thinking I want to mix it up, but I don't know what I want to do yet. Let's see. Maybe I'll do 2 yellow birds tonight, just because I can. I'm going to take my yellow. If you want to do 2 birds, different colors, that's totally fine. You may. I'm going to grab my yellow. Just start with 1 color and mix the color that you want for the base color of the bird. The birds that I did in the last class were a yellow bird with a green wing. So you could really mix it up here. I also did a pink bird with a red wing. So really kind of fun. I'm going to mix this yellow with white and see what color I get. I might add a little bit of red to it to kind of tame it down a little bit. Let's see what this color this gets. It's kind of making it a little orangey for me. It's just kind of toning it down a touch. So it's kind of making it like a light mustard, which works. So just find a color of a bird that you like, and we'll paint our bird together. And in the inspiration, I did outline my birds in blue paint. It was just kind of a fun, quirky thing to do. If you don't want to do that tonight, you don't have to. So I have a nice color for my bird. And I want you to think about the size or the scale of your birds for your composition tonight. So your birds could be, let's see if I can bring this any closer. Your birds could be small in your nest, or they could be large in your nest. I feel like my birds are always really large. I don't know why. So I'm going to try to do smaller birds tonight. We'll see what happens. No guarantees. So you're going to do 2 birds. For me, the heads were kissing. So I'm just going to do, figure out how big or how small you want your birds to be. And just do a round circle for the head. And since I'm doing 2 birds the same color, I'm just going to do both at the same time. So I have tiny little birds. My birds are going to be smaller. That's just what I'm going for tonight. But you could do bigger birds. Now you can do little ovals. So the chest is kind of down and straight. And the back of the body. We're going to be painting a wing on top of the body. So just paint the body of the bird. And the body of the bird is inside the nest. Now I will outline my birds in blue so we can see them. But just do basic outlines. And make sure your birds are in your nest. And you may need to do a second coat. Just take your time here. A little bird head. I'm doing like chickadee style birds tonight. Sometimes it's fun to paint different styles of birds. And you can kind of lean their bodies. So like one is like leaning into the other. That's always really fun. And you're just painting these birds entirely. Now, if you can see the background through, just let the birds dry. You can paint right on top of your nest too, because you can always repaint that nest line. So if you need to bring that bird all the way down, you can. And I'm just going to do a second coat. So if you need to mix a second color for a second color bird, that's fine. We're going to do a wing on top of these after. I have tiny birds tonight. I'm embracing it. If you wanted to like extend like the head to kind of come back to the back of the neck, you could. Like it's leaning in. You could do that. We will give the birds little beaks after. You could use brown to outline the birds that you are, if you have extra brown. You could use blue for the beak. You could use brown to outline. You could use blue, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So my birds are going to dry for a minute. You want to do a second coat where you need it, just take your time. You can grab a Oh, I just put my paintbrush in my clean water cup. That's, ladies and gentlemen, is why you can't have real water when you paint, because you'll ruin it. All right. I try to stay hydrated during these classes. Not tonight. All right. So I'm going to use a little bit of brown with like a tiny brush. And I'm going to do little beaks. And these little beaks are going to be touching. I'm using brown because I already have it on my plate. Look at these little birds, they're so funny. And I'm gonna outline them. I'm being courageous here, so I'm gonna outline my birds with a little bit of brown, just to show you what it looks like. If you don't like this, you don't have to do it. I might even do the wing. And if I don't like this, I can paint over it, so I'm not too worried about it. Ooh, I have chubby little birds. This is nice. I can give it a little eye if I want to. These birds are very different than the inspiration, but this is a good example of just kind of being in the moment. You don't always have to follow the rules with art, and I love demonstrating that because I did not have intent tonight to do something different. I was just following my intuition. And I think that's a good thing for everyone to consider as you jump into art classes. So I want you to paint your birds any way that you want. If you wanted to add like little red feathers to the chest, like this is where you can just like have fun with it. Obviously, these are like boring little yellow birds. So I might do a little, I don't know. Let's see here. Let's get my water cup and clean off my brush. Take a few minutes just to paint your birds any way that you want. I would do a second wing color. So the wing color, I may do like, I may do a little red because I'm going to do red flowers. So I'm going to do red and blue. I'll still do funky flowers, but I did the birds pretty simple. I'm going to do red, blue, and yellow flowers. Well, leaves, sorry, red, blue, and yellow leaves. The yellow of the leaves is going to be the same color as my birds. So it's all going to tie together visually and match. So I want the wings to still match some of the other colors. So I'm using reds, blues. I might do a little bit of red accent on the wings since I'm going to have red leaves on my picture. See where I'm going here? So whatever colors are on your bird, I want you to kind of include and incorporate. So I have a little tiny brush and I'm just going to kind of have fun with it. So I'm going to just maybe do some red on the wings, maybe just a little bit of red on the chest. Doesn't matter. I'm just being in the moment. Painting is fun and relaxing, right? I could even bring in a little bit of orange. If this red looks too violent, I can make a little orange. A little red and orange on the wings is not a bad idea. I'm just using little tiny brush strokes just to add a little bit of color. You do little polka dots on it. These are your birds. They can be whatever you want them to be. I might add a little bit more beak to my bird. So we'll spend a couple more minutes on these birds and then we'll shift. We can always come back to our birds, but I wanted to give you all a few minutes to be playful here. So I'm going to bring more of the beak into the head. There, that helped a little bit. Here. Very simple, two little birds. And the wing can also, like, you can fix the wings. My wings were kind of built into the body tonight. in the original that I did before, the wings were kind of off the body a little bit. Doesn't matter. We can all be so judgmental of our work. And I like talking through it because I just want you to be kind to yourself on the decisions that you make. And if you wanted to fix something or make a modification, you can do that at any time. Just do your thing. All right. So as you're doing your birds, if anybody needs to continue to work on those, feel free. I'm going to keep trucking along for time's sake. We're going to do, I want you to pick one of the colors of the leaves, and we're going to do a smattering of leaves in different areas. So for me, my birds are yellow. I'm going to grab, I have a number 2 brush. You can grab a 2, 3, or 4 brush for these leaves. We're going to do an array of yellow leaves. So I'm doing yellow, blue, and red or pink. So we're going to do the same size leaf on all these branches. And I'm just going to start doing a few yellow leaves here and there. And these are like pointing at the top and bottom and just rounded in the middle. And these are all going to be the same size. So find a size of a leaf that you like and just get in a groove and add them. So what we're going to do is we're going to do leaves all over, but you want to leave room for the other colors. So you can see I'm going high and low. I'm kind of going to go all over with my yellow leaves. So it's basically, again, you can determine the size. I'm going a little more large. You can play with the position of the leaf, to have it turn to the left a little, turn to the right. You can see how the angle of them is changed a little bit. And these will need a second coat of paint. Don't worry about that too much right now. Just get the base coat of the leaf in. And then we will bedazzle these a little bit. And you can see that these little leaves are starting to match my little birds. Intentional. I'm going to do a little leaf here. I'm kind of alternating from the left to the right side of the branch, just making sure I have enough of the yellow color. I can always add in a little bit more if I need to. Now, if some of these leaves over here that you started painting are drying already, if you wanted to do a second coat, you could. I'm not being incredibly meticulous about these leaves. They're just very simple in shape. But with the yellow, a second coat will really help the color pop. And I love this inspiration because it can be so different. For everyone. And I want you to choose the colors that you like. So if you like blues and greens and you don't want to do any red, you could do blue and green and yellow leaves. So you just consider, what are my 3 colors of leaves? That's an important thought I want you to kind of know going into some of these next steps. For me, I'm verbally saying that my leaves are going to be yellow, blue, and red, because we're gonna do some red flowers here in a minute too. So I'm just gonna do the yellow leaves, first coat of leaves, and kind of let those dry. And I'm gonna clean off my brushes along the way. It's important to let those dry because we're actually gonna outline some of these leaves using white paint. It's really gonna make them pop out. If you don't want to use white paint tonight, you could use any of that leftover brown that you have. So before we take up all this space with the leaves, I will show you an optional, really fun red flower that we can add in. And this was a part of the inspiration, and this was really fun. So I encourage you to try this if you're interested. So one of the first things to these flowers is using some white paint. So I'm going to put a small clean dollop of white. You're not going to do too much. And these flowers were so much fun because they're very uniform and they're very simple. And I have a small brush. This is a number 1. I'm going to get some white paint on this brush. And I like to spin my brush in this paint so it has a nice smooth kind of coat coverage. And we're going to be doing circles for the center. So for me, I'm going to do a small circle at the top of this branch for the center of the flower. Just a white small circle. And I'm going to do another one right here. And we're just going to do a few like clusters. So these circles can be big or small. The size of the flower is based on the center of the circle. So for me, I'm just going to do a little cluster of 3 flowers here. So you can see there's 3 little circles. And I want some flowers in different places. So I'm going to do one over here. And I'll do one over here. I like how we scattered the yellow petals. We're going to put a few red flowers in, and these will be really fun. Very easy. I'll do another one down here. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger. And then I'll add maybe one over here. So you can figure out where you want to put these flowers. They don't have to be like at the top of a branch. They can kind of be in different areas. I might put one more over here. There we go. So now we have lots of little circles. How many did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, doesn't matter. So now that you have some circles in, you can get some of your red paint using a tiny brush. Just mix it around so the red paint is kind of gets broken up a little bit. It gets a little more smooth. This paint is pretty thick. There we go. And I like to spin the brush again to kind of manage how goopy the paint is on it. And each of these flowers will have 4 or 5 petals on it. So I want you just to outline. And you can paint right on your branches. They're kind of like square, rectangular shaped petals. Just pick a style of a petal that you like. And just go with that. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but this is just an easy style petal. And I'm kind of going, I want to keep the white line, but I'm kind of outlining the petal. So it's kind of on the other side of the white line. And you can play with it. You can fill these in along the way if you wish. Again, you can paint on top of the stems of the branches. That's fine. Just try to maintain that white line. If you paint on top of the white line by accident, you can go in it with a little bit of white. I just want to be able to see that white circular center. So take a few minutes to do a few petals, red petals. And you can use a really tiny brush. If you wanted to use a smaller brush, you may. This is just a fun detail. It kind of looks neat against all these colorful petals. And the fact that all these flowers, I'm doing 4 simple petals, that's it. You all can do this. Very easy shapes. You got this. They can be boxy or they could be rounded. It doesn't matter. Just pick one style that you like. Just repeat it for each of these. But the red for me is going to match the red in the bird's wings. It's also going to match some of the red leaves that I'm going to be adding. You can see how visually it's starting to tie together. It's a nice balance. That's what we're going for. That's why we have these little red flowers thoughtfully planted all over our canvas. And this discussion and this mindfulness of where to put things, you can bring these techniques into anything you paint. It allows you to reflect as an artist. Okay, should I add any more of this anywhere else? And you can bring that into an abstract painting. You can bring it into something, more realistic. Those are all choices. After we're done these flowers, we can do a group flip and reveal if folks are interested. This one got a little funky, it's all right. And I'll also share the sign up link for additional June classes. But I'll also include the additional June classes information in the follow-up email as well. But these little red flowers are worth it. So if they're a little time consuming, don't worry. They will add a nice pop and pizzazz to your painting. And if they're not all perfectly even in the same, it's okay, because visually, I now have an array of flowers. And if you decided to skip over this part, no big deal, no judgment zone. But I love adding in a couple new tips and tricks along the way here. This leaf's going to be a little smaller. That's okay. You also, the more you paint, you learn about where things should be uniform and where they don't need to be exactly. Like all of your petals don't need to be the exact same size to reflect that they're in the same family, because even though there's a small little petal up there, it's still in the same family, right? If I step away and I'm a little less critical from far away, they're all red flower petals, right? So I'm going to let these dry. If folks are still working on these, feel free to do that. We're doing good on time. It's 7:05. I'm going to drop the link in the chat as folks are working. Let's see here. If anyone has any questions as you're working, do not hesitate to ask. Oh boy. Okay. In the chat window is a link to the available classes for June and July. I also have August classes dates selected. I may not have the inspirations picked out yet, but you're welcome to take a peek at that. But more importantly, we can check in as a group and see how you're all doing. Carol has her apron on. Very smart, Carol. High five to that. I'm going to remove my pen so I can look at each and every one of you. How's it going so far? Nice. Susan has orange wings. I like that on your birds. All right, Karen. Nice. That looks good. Beautiful. Beautiful job. I love Kathy, you have orange birds with yellow wings. Those yellow wings look so cute. And Terry, you have nice texture on your birds too. Mary Roberge and friend, you have a blurry screen. I cannot see your paintings. Carol's in the zone. We're not going to interrupt Carol right now. Carol is just too focused. All good. All right. Take your time painting these small details. I'll hold mine a little closer. Very simple shapes. I did nothing complicated here. So you're probably going to get a sense of some of the next steps. So everyone can kind of go at their own pace, finish your flowers, and then you can jump to the next color of leaves. You can do the same thing with your second color for your leaves and for your third color. And then we're going to outline them and make them look real pretty. All right. All right. Melissa, cute little pink birds. Ron's in the zone. Ron, if you're busy, you don't worry about it. You don't have to show your art yet. I will never force anyone to show their artwork. And I think if you've been around long enough, you know that. Not
Yeah,
until
no,
you're ready.
I kind of did it a little, I hope you're not upset with me. I kind of did it a little differently. I'm still working on it, but.
Nice.
uh,
Ron, I appreciate you broke the rules, sir. High five for that. We're here to do our own thing. I said that up
Thank-
front. I love the green. It looks really nice.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm glad you did your own thing. That green looks really nice. All right, cool. So we'll keep on painting. Everyone kind of go at your own speed. Paint your leaves as you wish. If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm gonna leave my flowers there to dry. There was one additional accent that I did to my flowers is I made a light pink and I put like little light pink dots in the inside of these flowers. So I'm gonna just do that really quick. I made a light pink with white and red. It doesn't even have to be light. Mine's kind of like a cotton candy pink. It doesn't matter. Because you can always add a little of this to like your bird's wing or something too. It doesn't matter. And this color is optional, but I'm just gonna do a small like little kind of dots just to fill in the side of the flower just a little bit. I'm just doing like little dots just to add a little color inside that space. You could fill the entire center of the flower this color. I'm just doing it like a little bit of a textured approach. Doesn't matter though. I can still see some of the teal just to add a little bit of brightness. Kind of looks pretty. You could do like a yellow or like an orange inside of those flowers if you wanted to. I'm just doing a little bit of pink. Just little dots, nothing complex. The dots are really just smearing into like an amoeba, but it's fine. All right. So I just did a little pink inside. Maybe I'm feeling a little crafty. I'll just do a little bit of pink dots on the bird's wings just so it matches a little bit. This is me being silly. Maybe a little pink on the top of the bird's head. Just ties it together visually, having a little bit of pink in. All right. I'm going to do blue petals next. The Phalleo is an excellent color. Use the same brush. Again, I want you to think about what your 3 colors are. If you don't want to do 3 colors, you don't have to do 3 colors. You could just do green leaves if you wanted to do green leaves, doesn't matter. But I'm going to do the Phalleo blue. See how dark this is as is. I'm just going to try it first. It's pretty dark. Let me see if I like it. I'm going to use this as is. If folks want to add like a little, maybe add a little bit of my light blue from my teal from my background, just to kind of soften it a little bit, but I'm going to go with it. Use a color that you like, that you enjoy. That's the most important thing. And you're going to rinse and repeat and do the same step. Again, manage how much paint is on your brush. You can spin your brush on your plate like you're wringing out a mop. You can manage how much paint is on your brush tip. That's a really important and a helpful tip. I should downsize to a smaller brush. This brush is a little big. I can't really get the nice fine tip that I want. It's okay. I'm using a number 2, but I would downsize to like a 1 if you have it. I guess this brush is okay. Let's see. And you can add as many or as few of these leaves as you wish. But I'm scattering visually these blue leaves. The contrast is really quite pretty. Actually, I'm really happy I kept this blue because I can tuck this color into other areas. We also can accent this blue with a lighter blue, which is kind of round too. So I'll show you how to do that after. So if it looks really bold and punchy, we can add a secondary color to it for a little bit of depth. And I'm saving room for my third leaf color. Let's see, do I have enough of the blue? Might do one more blue leaf up the top. So in these classes, I coach all of us to be mindful as we paint. And the step of kind of leaning back and reflecting on your work, saying, do I have enough of this one color on my painting? I could say, okay, I have some on the top, the top left, the top right, and the bottom. Like that's kind of where everything's going on. That's good. I have a little bit of this background color left. If anyone wants to get fancy with me, you can mix a little bit lighter of a blue. Kind of mixing the phthalo with this like background color just to create a secondary. And you can do a line down the side of the blue leaf. So easy. Watch this. It highlights your blue leaf. So pretty. Okay, for consideration. You don't have to do it. That's just a tip to consider. For anyone that's doing like lots of one colored leaf, you can do a lighter tone of your leaf. So if you're doing a green, you could do a lighter green accents on your leaves. If you're doing all yellow leaves, you can do lighter yellow or a darker yellow or even an orange tint. So you can play with a lighter or darker tone on your leaf objects to add depth. So I just did a lighter blue, and look how pretty that looks. It was so easy, right? Kind of gives it like a little bit of an ornamental feel, which it's kind of fun. And I'm going to get a little crazy. I'm going to put a little bit of this blue in the nest. Just kind of tucking and weaving it in. Visually, it'll help tie everything together. Optional, maybe I'll put a little water on my brush. A little water as you're doing some light streaks in your nest will kind of make it a little smoother. Remember, your nest, you can layer whatever colors you want. And if you want to keep it simple, you can always go back and paint brown on it. It's okay. This is acrylic. It is so forgiving. You can do whatever you want. Maybe I'll outline kind of the sides of the nest to give it a little bit of extra shape. Anything goes here. Again, if I have too much blue, which I kind of like the blue that I added, it kind of added a cool tone. This is just art. It's just happening. I actually like tonight's painting better than my other one. Imagine that. These are surprises for each of us. We surprise ourselves by being in the moment. Like Ron, high five, breaking the rules. You have this beautiful nature scene. I appreciate you. So if you have a third color of your leaf, go ahead and add it now. I'm going to grab my red and I'm going to do some red leaves. The red leaves are going to match my flowers. The red leaves are also going to match the red in my bird's wing. And again, make sure you check yourself on what size brush you're using. It doesn't hurt to downsize your brush. If you have like very large objects, try downsizing and see what happens. Always get your brush a little bit wet. If you're putting new paint on your palette, mix it around to kind of break up the thickness and spin your brush to manage how much paint is on your brush. All right. And I'm going to do some red leaves. And I could do a pink accent to these leaves if I wanted to. After, that could be kind of cool. Okay. Let's see here. Now I get to tuck in some leaves. You can play, excuse me, with the orientation of your leaves, like how they're positioned, like tilted wise. You can have them be flowing with your branch. My leaves are like all floating from my branch. We didn't really talk about that because your leaves can be touching your branch or they can be floating. Doesn't really matter. You can make that choice as the artist.
Can you remind me what size brush you're using?
I'm
for-
using, I think it's like a 1 or a 2. I would stay smaller for these leaves. So just give you a little bit more control. Let's see, this one, the number is scratched off, but it's probably a number 1. That's my guess. Yeah, it doesn't have it on this one, but it's a tiny brush. And you can play with how wide and like how wide your leaves are and then how pointy the ends are. Again, the orientation, how your leaves are tilted based on what branch you put them on. This leaf is a little big for me, so I'm like, I might be able to cover it up a little bit. I'm sure we all have some leaves that are bigger than others. That's all right. I got a little leaf happy there. Let's see here. Maybe I'll do another one over here. And just lean back in your chair and just reflect on how many you have and just use your gut, use your own intuition of, do I have enough or do I want to add any more? I think I want to add one more little one up here. And some of you may notice if you have like the end of a branch that like doesn't have anything on it, you may want to add something there. You don't have to. I think I'm just going to let that be, but I wanted to highlight that because you don't have to put a leaf at the end of a branch. You don't have to put a flower at the end of the branch. I just want you to be happy with the art as an artist for like with the overall composition. So I think I'm good with the number of red leaves. I am going to put a little bit of this pink that I made up as a secondary color on the red. And I'm going to do just a line, just like I did for the blues. And I'm going to use a small brush of choice. And I'm just doing a line on one edge. It doesn't matter which edge. I did outline these leaves with white paint. We can do a little bit of outlining if folks want to see what it looks like. I'll kind of just get the group's opinion because you might be happy with what you have without the outlining. But if folks want to see the outlining, I'm happy to do that for you. But I'm just working my way around
I'd
to all my
like
red
to see-
leaves. Go ahead. What was the question?
I'd like to see outlining.
Sure, of course. I love the outlining. It's so fun. All right. So I did a little bit of the pink on the red leaves, which I love. So pretty, really simple, adds kind of a two-tone. For the white outlining, you just want to use the smallest brush possible. Let me see what I have here. One moment. And you're gonna have, you need clean white paint for the outline. Okay. The outlining really just highlights these objects incredibly. So I grabbed a small brush. This is a 2/0 fraction brush. Some of you may have gotten this, some of you may not have, but just use the smallest brush you have. And this has a nice fine tip on it. And I'm going to grab a little bit of white paint. And I'm going to spin the brush so it's not too goopy. It's like pretty contained. And all I'm doing is outlining each leaf the whole way around. I didn't add a secondary color to my yellow. I'm just going to kind of roll with that. Maybe I'll just do some of these veins kind of that come through the middle of the leaf. That kind of flow down. You can't really see it because it's so bright. So you could do something like that. I'm not going to do that middle line detail for these other colors. I'm just going to outline these. Go nice and slow with a steady hand. Doing the white outlining is optional, but I'm committing. I want you to manage the amount of paint on the tip of your brush if you're doing outlining. It's one of the most important things. You could also outline your red petals of your flower if you wanted to match. I did a darker outline, I think, for these in my last one, but you maybe outline one in whites if you like it. You could do a brown outline too. But that's an example of a white outlined flower, and that's a non-outlined. So you can see some outlined and some non-outlined. I do like the outlined. I think it's really pretty. I enjoyed it. It just takes a few extra minutes. I also did a little bit of white accenting on the birds too, like on the wings, which matches the white outlining on the leaves and the flowers. Again, manage how much paint is on the tip of the brush. I want you to pay attention when you're painting to the bristles at the end of the brush. That will lead to your success here. Don't look at the object, look at the tip of the brush as you paint. It'll kind of help you, you'll get a sense of like how hard you're pushing because the line will be thicker versus a dainty brush stroke, a soft brush stroke versus a brush stroke where you're pushing down. If you push down harder when you do a brush stroke, you'll have a wider line. This is just what comes with practice, but I'm just talking through it to create awareness. Many of you probably already know this, but it may lighten your brush stroke for a time like this if it's top of mind. And I'm just dancing my way around, outlining. These yellow flowers or yellow petals or leaves, I can do like a line through and kind of do a couple of veins coming down. You can make your choices there. If you wanted to highlight the breaking color, I'll show you what it looks like for like the blues and the reds, you could. I'll just do a couple so you can see. I did a line kind of breaking the colors of the blues. I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks actually kind of cool. So if you wanted to do a breaking color between those two, you could consider that. The evolution of art. What a great example, right? We talk about the evolution of your artwork throughout class. It's fun just to be along for the ride and let whatever happens happen. And if anyone has any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I hope you're enjoying tonight's class so far. This is where you can all just take a deep breath and enjoy these details. If you're enjoying a cup of tea or a cold beverage, make sure you enjoy that along the way. It's also good to stand up and stretch during these classes. Benefit of the virtual pace. I'll remind you to take a break if you need to. Because I will be here and I'm not going anywhere. So anyone that registered for tonight's class will receive a link to the recording So if you want to follow back up on any of these details, or if you have to leave early, no worries. I will also include the sign up information for the summer classes that I'm offering. The classes are exactly like this. They're just our friends at AARP New Hampshire are not sponsoring classes for caregivers this summer because they're just doing additional programming. So no problem at all. But I do want to make sure you and others know that I will continue to be teaching classes for the community. The link is in the chat, but I also will include the link information as well as the calendar of what we're painting in the follow-up email. And if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to reach out. But for the summer classes, you bring your own supplies. If you have a hard time getting supplies, I can easily mail you affordable supplies like I do for these classes. Just let me know.
Do you know if AARP New Hampshire is going to resume these classes in the fall?
Yes, ma'am, they will be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm just working my way around. And you can see that the detail and the accent and the style that the white outlining gives. You could also do like a dark outline, right? So it's really, art can be anything that you want it to be. It's really fun trying different styles, tips and techniques. I'll show you a really fun.
Paint left on your palette.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a question?
No, I was gonna say it's all about what paint you've got left on your palette.
I hear you. Exactly right. Exactly right. One of the things I was going to share was a really fun example of like darker contrast outlining is actually on Friday, I'm teaching a monarch butterfly class. And you can see how the dark contrast compared to a whiter contrast is just so fun. Like this was a brilliant, like orangey yellow that I used. And by doing these really fun black outlines, it just made the whole picture kind of jump out. So it's just it's kind of a fun contrasting difference of like what a darker contrast outlining may look like for simple shapes versus like a white. So yes, to the point of use what you have on your palette 100%. You can kind of just be in the moment, right? Exactly. Exactly right. All right. And all of the resources that Mary shared in our introduction today, the AARP caregiving resources will also be highlighted in that email that I send as a follow-up too. I'll likely be sending that email tomorrow. And if anyone's ever inspired to paint something in particular, I'm always open to ideas on what you may be interested in painting. A lot of folks love, outdoorsy things. I had a recommendation the other day to do, somebody saw my oranges. They're like, let's do lemons. I was like, oh, that could be fun. So I'm always open to hearing what your ideas are. So don't ever hesitate to email me. My contact info is on the piece of paper that I include in your kits. And you can also contact me through my website, which is paintandsipvt.com. So lots of ways to reach out with ideas, things that you may be inspired that you might want to paint. I know some folks like to paint beach scenes too. Look at this beach scene. Is this my newest one? I did 2 beach scenes. Some of you get really excited about these beach scenes. This is like tropical oasis beach scene. Like how much fun is that, right? Like take me there. So using these colors are colors that you all have. So I would teach you how to mix and blend, but that's just like a fun beach scene that I might do in the future too with y'all. All right. So everybody's kind of working on their finishing touches. For me, I may look at my branches, making sure everything is nice and clean and smooth. You can look at your nest saying, do I want to add anything else to my nest or not? I kind of like the simplicity of my nest being this blue color. I'm going to put a little bit of this darker blue in here. I just dipped my brush in a little bit of water. And I'm just going to interlace a little bit of this phthalo blue in here, just so it matches some of the darker contrasts of the blue leaves. And again, a little water on your brush will help break up the paint pigment. If you wanted to add a color somewhere, but you didn't want it to be so dark, a little water can really help break that up for you. But in about 2 or 3 minutes, we'll do a quick show and tell. I know some folks might have to leave early, which I understand, but we did well tonight. We're just over an hour and a half, which is kind of a treat. Sometimes these classes can go up to 2 hours, but today's is quite simple. If you're working still and you want to spend 2 full hours, I encourage you to do that. Absolutely. But I will check in with each of you. I'm going to unpin myself because there's too much of me happening on the screen right now. I'm going to go to gallery. All right. Karen, Kraus, and Co. How did it go over there tonight? Are you guys like really competitive or are you kind of in your own zones? All right, let's see. Nice. I love it. All right, Carol's working on hers. Oh, I see more green in there. I like that. Nice job. I like that one a lot. Nice brown branch. Thank you for sharing. All right, Terry, how did it go for you tonight? Nice. You did a blue nest. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it more than I thought I would. It was
Yeah,
good.
good. I know.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's one of those things where you could say, is it going to be too colorful and wacky
Yeah.
for me? Or you just
Yeah.
make it your own. Like
Yeah.
Ron made it his own. And I like doing the same color birds. Like for me, it
Me
helps
too.
make it a little more grounded, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, good.
I love it. Nice job, Terry. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I love Karen said a red barn scene. That's a good idea for the winter. Ron, I love this. You've created this like canopy to protect these
Well-
birds in the trees.
It needs a lot of work, but I'm kind of excited with it.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you
Nice
very
job.
much.
Again, high five for being a rule breaker. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Who else? Kathy, how's it going over there? Oh, beautiful. Kathy, I want to compliment your colors. They're perfectly balanced, your yellows and your oranges. In your nest, you have a little bit of brightness, and that helps it stand out a little bit more, which looks really nice.
I'm a little disappointed in the background. I think I should have made it a little lighter, but it made me use darker colors, which I probably normally wouldn't have done.
Yeah, absolutely. You did wonderful. You should hang that one.
Sure.
Yeah. So everyone, the canvas boards that I send you are 11 by 14. And if you want to get fancy like me, you can go to Michael's and buy some cheap 11 by 14 frames and hang them up. And they look quite professional and just a simple frame. And then you can rotate them in with the artwork from our classes. So it could be a really fun thing. I do that when I paint something new that I like. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to put that one up. All right. Carol, how's it going over there for you? You're thinking about it. She's like, I don't know.
Yay.
Oh, I do love it. I love the greens. Carol, are you going to add something else? Do you have the bare spot or do you like the simplicity? No. She's like, no. Oh, you are muted, but I can read what you're saying. Here, let me unmute you. Oh, you're okay. Okay.
There we go. I would like to put a little fawn down there, but I don't really know how to do that. So
Okay.
it's going to practice on paper probably before I do, because I have a fawn under my dining room window that ran around the house today.
Oh,
I don't like the bare spot, but I'd kind of put it too much up into the upper left and middle, and the lower right got a little bare.
There's so much you can do with that space. I would call it an opportunity because I think that's where your head's at. You could do like a hill, kind of like a low hill rolling in there. And
Yes,
you
in the
can
background.
Google like a fawn or a deer. Go to google.com/images and do vector. So do like fawn space the word vector. It will give you a silhouette of the animal.
Okay,
That will help you with the overall form. So
I'm
anytime
not sure I can
for like a
really do
silhouette,
that,
I
but
type the name of the thing and I type in vector. Like I did a lotus on a rock that we painted, and I did lotus vector in Google search, and it gave me the shapes that I needed for success.
okay,
So you can try that.
okay.
Well, I hope to see
It
your
takes
finished
more,
product.
it's gonna take more. It's not right, but it's my second attempt, so
Well, I
That's okay.
think what you've done is really good. And I wouldn't say that out, publicly with high eyebrows. I think you've done really beautifully. And I think you have an opportunity to bring in a little fawn scene in that bottom corner.
just, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. All right.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, Melissa and Mary, I'm looking at you next. How's it going? Melissa's like, I'm not, Mary's definitely probably still working. She's very detail oriented.
She is. Mine's a little
Fun.
Nice.
colorful.
You know what? Colorful was one way of approach for tonight, and that's okay.
I wasn't really listening. I was doing something else when you were saying how to do the flowers, so I kind of made them up as I went along.
It's okay.
Show yours.
Oh,
Oh,
all right.
show it.
It's daughter accountability right there. Mary, I love it. Your birds came out so cute.
Yeah, I'm making little babies now.
I love it.
Oh, yes.
I love it. Wonderful. We'll keep up the good work. I love how you added the nice bright green leaves. I think those were a really nice touch. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to pause the recording.